The National Association of Nigerian Students, NANS, has been protesting in different towns, cities and campuses across Nigeria for some time now over the continuous shutdown of the nation's universities as a result of a strike embarked upon by members of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU. For instance, UNILAG students today embarked on a protest calling on the federal government and ASUU to urgently resolve their differences. But before then, hope rose about 24 hours ago for an end to the industrial action, but that appears to be just a mirage now as ASUU has again extended its action by 12 more weeks. The grounds of embarking on this action by ASUU are poor funding, the use of Integrated Personnel Payroll Information System, IPPIS, as the payment platform in the university system, among others. Now, ASUU and the federal government have been in disagreement over these issues for a long time now, and so far have not been able to find a meeting point, as most meetings between them have always ended up in a deadlock. Now, we're looking at the impact of these strike action on students, lecturers, governments, parents, campus, business owners, and even the nation's economy as well. And what is going to be the way out? Well, all of this we'll get answers to. We'll try to build conversation around them as we have guests in the studio. We're looking at the lingering ASUU strike. This is Nigeria Today. I'm Musbad and Wahab. Welcome. Join me and welcome my guest in just a moment. The lingering ASUU strike is the issue on the table, and joining me in the studio is a former director, FCT Education Secretariat and Education Consultant, Dr. Emmanuel Aina. Good to have you, Doctor.
It's my pleasure.
Right.
Good evening, viewers.
Okay. Hope you don't have many at home now.
I hope so.
All right, we also have one of those bearing the brunt they're talking about a student now. Is the North Central Coordinator, Nigeria Youth Union, NYU, a student of Benue State University, Jeremiah Friday. Good to have you.
Good evening, sir. Thank you very much.
All right, very good evening. I can see you adding some flesh already. All right, not so funny. But I'm going to start with you. You're one of those feeling the heat. How has it been like? You've been home for close to 3 months now.
Of course, it's not a good experience from our fathers, the government of the day, as led by President Muhammadu Buhari. You know, they said we have responsibility to make our society better than we met it.
Sure.
And if we are not doing that, it means we are failing in how to also improve the society. And I'm here today to speak our experience as a student. We are not happy.
Okay.
You know, because why we thank President Muhammadu Buhari for fighting corruption. We also want to let the president know that the highest corruption any country can have is to deny citizens education, access to education. And that is what we are seeing today. Not until the government focus and put more interest on the educational system, our tomorrow that we all dream for will not see it. And I want the president to focus and to look towards that direction on how to improve the life of the youth. Because this particular thing you are seeing today, I call it an academic pandemic. Because it's an academic pandemic because it's a recurrent issues in Nigeria academic system.
Personally, how is it affecting you?
Yes, it's affecting us
for close to 3 months.
Yes, one of the areas affecting us is, for instance, you know, once you are out of studies and you are not improving or you are not reading, you are away from your book, whether you like it or not, you start reducing academic-wise. Academic-wise, the Nigerian students are not improving the way they are supposed to improve. Then two, when you look at it at the level of money-wise, that is wastage of funds. Like the money all of us paid for rentage. Today, whether ASUU go on strike, other ASUU go on strike or not, that rentage is running.
Yeah.
You cannot go back and tell a landlady or a landlord that because of ASUU strike,
now I know you are
not going to. Nobody will listen to you.
All right.
So government should also look at, and many of these people that are going, some students they are going to school based on self-sponsors. And if you are putting that today, you are also increasing or encouraging the student to go into crime, because they said an idle mind is a devil workshop. So the government need to come into it. The only way we can reduce crime is to encourage education in Nigeria.
Right, thank you, Jerry. That sounds very easy to cope, but don't worry, we'll cope with Jeremiah. Now, Dr. Aina, these students have been home for 3 months, and those who are even supposed to join them cannot yet because of this strike. This is one strike too complicated because of the issues on the table between ASUU and then the federal governments. What do you see to these reasons for embarking on the strike?
Let me start by saying that the situation is regrettable, it is lamentable, it is unfortunate, and it is frustrating. Just like
Jeremiah.
Jerry has just, expressed his feeling, and I believe he has spoken the minds of thousands of Nigerians. I must also add that in time past, Nigerian universities were renowned for excellence, even at the world stage. Centers of research, centers of development, and most organizations, including private organizations, tapped a lot of, resources. I mean, in terms of, knowledge and skills. And Nigerian universities, even in the area of medicine, people came from some parts of the world on medical, tourism, if I may use that expression, in Nigeria. So it is quite unfortunate that these days, it's as if our universities are renowned for strikes, and like he said, it has become a recurrent decimal. It has become, a constant occurrence. Now, I don't want us to trade blames on the way forward, because there have been counter-accusation and counter-accusation, claims and counter-claims. If we really put a high premium on education, if we attach a high value to education, I think we must all be focused on how to resolve this impasse, as it were. And in the overall interest of not only the students, even the other stakeholders, Nigeria inclusive, government inclusive, parents inclusive, and so on. Now, they say when there is a will, there's always a way. I think we must be driven by the overall interest of the country, the benefit that education, has to offer, which has been confirmed world over that it's a veritable instrument of development. And if we really want to address our developmental, challenges, I think we must find a way of, resolving this matter without, any sense of a winner or a loser. Let it be a win-win, situation. On this premise, I think the appeal should go both ways.
All right, before the appeals,
for both government and there
should be a meeting point. There must be they must find a common ground.
Yes.
Well, for what ASUU is asking for, improved funding of the educational system, and of course non-implementation of the IPPIS in the across the schools. What do you say to this? What justification do we have for an employee to determine how to be paid? And okay, let's tackle that before we talk about the request for an improved
The employee
funding.
has obligations. He has rights also.
Okay.
And so you can talk of negotiation for some interests of the employees. You can also talk of negotiation for their rights. And some of these rights are enshrined even in the Nigerian constitution. The right to fair, and equitable, pay for work done. I don't want us to create the impression that government is not concerned. Maybe we might say they are not concerned enough, and they need to go what they call the extra, mile in order to resolve this issue. We address the president as their father, government as their father. And of course, the father must always, bend backward to look into the cries of his children. There's no doubt about it that government is constrained, but we don't want to use that as an excuse. Whatever the constraints are, the will, the political will, and then the worth that they attach to education, which is so enunciated in the national policy on education, that education is a veritable instrument for development, and the world over, So, in spite of whatever constraint or challenges, I think there must be that will to do something extraordinary that would, put pay to this incessant, strike. On the part of ASUU, that's why I talk about trading blames. They must also look inward and maybe try to be realistic to some extent. I think going forward, we must come to a point that we cannot solve all the problem at one first swoop.
Okay, we'll go forward, but let's quickly take a look at this request one after the other. Now, Jeremiah, ASUU, part of what ASUU is asking for is an improved funding for the system so that students get a better environment to study in. Now, can you give us a little picture of what you think your environment looks like for study?
Of course, if you are... Thank you very much. If you want to look at the educational environment system, of course, if you go to our hostels today, is nothing to write about. And if you also look, if you go to some libraries, you will not find the required materials. You also need to also equip yourself with. Because education is all about research. The more you research, the more you get equipped with some knowledge that will also aid you to stand the test of time. If these materials are not there, you cannot do more than what you have. And at the end, when you finish as a graduate, you are going out there to compete with your fellow graduates. So yes, the government need to also wake up to improve on the facilities in our educational in our universities. That ASUU is pushing for is a very good demand. However, if you are pushing for something, like they always said, whatever you are agitating for, there should be an exit point. That exit point is the point of negotiation. So whatever you are putting into the table, you also need to also create a hole, an exit, a way where everybody can come to the round table and discuss. In our schools, for instance, when the management increased school fees, we go and say, no, these things will not work. And when we do that, we have what we call 3 C's. We consult, we consolidate before we do confrontation. All of this process must be followed before you said you want to take 1 or 2 action. And while you are also confronting, you also need to also be listening. What is the body language is all about? Once you get a green light, you can also come back to discuss further and to see how you can get a solution to whatever you are pushing for. Today, they are pushing, federal government said no, ASUU is saying no. The people that are at the center of it all is students. Most of these men today, as I'm speaking to you, their children are not in this country. And the major barrier to the youth of today is age. Because by the time you graduate from school, what you start hearing, said the age limit between so years and so years, between 18 and 25, 26, you will not get somebody you kept in an academic environment for so many years. And by the time the person is coming out of that environment, you are now pushing another barrier to him. At the end of it, you see that everybody will start falling back to see how he can create self-employed, something that can aid or help his or her. You understand?
Right, Jerry, you're making valid points.
These things are things that federal government need to look into because they are not also creating a way to marry all these differences.
Right, I agree with you. They must find solution to this. They must have a common ground. But let's quickly take a break. We'll return to talk about the solution to all of this in just a moment.
Government have to do the needful by calling off these strikes because it's not actually helping the country. For instance, I lost about 3 years during my university days because of a strike. You understand? It made me to add more 3 years to my years. You understand? I was supposed to spend 4 years in the university. I spent 7 good years, and it's not good at all. Do you understand what I'm saying? So government of the day need to do the needful, ensuring that any agreement they enter with the academic unions, be it NASU or ASUU or whatever, let them stick to it.
I urge federal government to take some measure, some critical measure. Let's solve these things once and for all. And let's look into it. It will not be only on the side of federal government. The ASUU, they should analyze this thing and bring up ideas and solutions to these things once and for all.
The students are home idle, and that could result in very many social vices, including robbery, prostitution, and a whole lot more. A society like ours doesn't deserve this. And that's why I would like to use this opportunity to appeal to stakeholders to do something promptly about this. We need to get our children back to the school. It is not healthy.
Please, they should try by all means, and consider things. None of them will be happy to see his own children, their own children on the road, walking about, doing nothing. It's not the best.
I'm pleading that they should just go with their terms and do whatever they need to do so that we'll return to the normal school activities.
Right, a cross-section of Nigerians on the street of Abuja giving their views about this lingering strike and preferring solutions to what they think the federal government should do. And one of them mentioned a valid point, which is the byproducts of this strike action, which could lead to social vices. How do you see to this?
Well, to me, quickly on the solution, because I think this is what will take us forward.
Yeah.
I think there has been every indication of trust deficit between the two parties. And if that is not addressed, we'll be going around the circle. I think that issue of trust deficit must, be addressed. And there must be sincerity of purpose when you reach an agreement, because part of the grievance is the issue of agreement dating back to even 2009, 2019 and all that. Then the unnecessary controversy over the issue of solution. You talk of IPPS, university dons are insisting on the UTAS, university transparency, accountability, solution. I think there should be sincerity of purpose to resolve some of these things. They are resolvable things. It's not rocket, science that you cannot agree on. and then take cognizance of all the variables that make that ASUU is arguing that makes their own pay package different. And I must say, with all sense of sincerity and responsibility, that even the IPPS itself is not flawless. There have been complaints from even civil servants about being short paid or not even being paid at all. So it means the two solutions are not perfect. And I think there must be that sincerity of purpose in really examining to adopt it. It's not okay. Is it not a shameful thing to say we are not able to, even develop our own pay solution in this country, that we cannot domesticate it? Number three, I think there should be a presidential intervention, because the going forward to and fro has been between at the ministerial level. I know they take directives from the president, but if there is a presidential intervention to underscore the seriousness of this matter and the urgency of providing solution, I think we'll go forward. It will reassure both parties that, at least we are being, considered at even the highest, possible level. So beyond just giving directives, I think I want to humbly suggest that there should be a presidential, order that, hey, even if it means you call it marching order or giving a deadline. Lastly, on a note of appeal to ASUU, I'm taking a cue from the reality that all the problems so enumerated, which are well-meaning, forward-looking, may not be possible to address in one fell swoop. That maybe they should maybe agree on some compromise to, put down some of these agreeable demands on a kind of
Dr. Let me come in here.
timetable. Yes.
If you are asking for a compromise, you mentioned the fact that this issue has been on the table for a while now,
yes.
and we're looking for a permanent solution, not a short-term solution that will also result into another industrial action in the nearest future. So how do you think an end or a solution can be found so that we don't get to see this in any nearest future?
It will make me to repeat what I just said, that there should be that need, that urgent need to address the trust deficit, because part of the complaint of very loud indeed is that government will make a promise, tomorrow they will renege, on it. They cannot be trusted. They will sign an agreement. They would renege on the implementation.
Okay.
And then one other point I may want to add as a solution, the issue of increased funding has become a swan song. I want to appeal against the backdrop of my little experience that the resources allocated must also be managed very judiciously. Because there have been allegations of
the respective institutions,
corruption, even in the university, about mismanagement of funds and all the rest of them. With all sense of humility and responsibility, such things should not be discountenanced, because it is part, of the cankerworm that is eating up our educational system.
Thank you very much,
Corruption
Dr.
is widespread, and I think
that should be
where resources are allocated, universities should prove their detractors wrong, that they are able to manage transparently and with accountability resources allocated to them.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ena. Jeremiah, what would you table as your prayer to both parties as we run off?
Like I said from the beginning, I said both ASUU and federal government, they are our fathers. And whatever they do today affects us negatively, whether they like it or not, on this strike. You see, we like ASUU, most of our lecturers, during the election, you see, most of them are the ones being the returning officers. And we know a lot of things happen during that time. The people that are supposed to be voted in, they are not there. These things are also factors. You understand? So why ASUUs are pushing for, because they say lack of trust weakens the relationship. What is happening between ASUU and federal government now is lack of trust. Why? Because on the part of the ASUU, federal government don't trust them. On the part of federal government, ASUU don't trust them. And that is where we are today. So ASUU on their own should also work on themselves, because most of those people are the VCs. Most of the returning officers are VCs. What you get from the field is not what you are also announcing. It's a problem. You understand? So we should look inward, address ourselves, be sincere to ourselves. What we are doing, is it right or wrong? Push away selfish interests and put Nigeria first. Because if you are in a higher institution, for instance, if there are not students there, you can't be a lecturer. And if there are not people in Nigeria, you cannot be a president or senate president or even national assembly, or a governor or anything in this country. So whatever you are doing, put the interest of your citizens first. Like I said, corruption is not only to fight financial misappropriation. Once you deny students the right, a citizen the right to education, you understand, you are also encouraging corruption. Government should try to work on that.
Let me quickly chip in something, sir.
We can
I just want to note, sorry, sir,
in our
that education is on the concurrent legislative list.
Sure.
It is not the sole responsibility of the federal government, because that's the general impression we tend to have. He talked about state-owned universities.
Yeah.
Governors should also be held accountable to the standard that their universities portray.
Okay, we're talking about...
he said a lot of things about the state university.
Sorry, in summary, before you go further, I want to say something about this prohibition.
Yeah.
You understand, the law prohibiting all these things. Those people holding a public office, that law should be passed, so that being a minister, chief of staff, everybody's children should be in Nigeria. Schooling in Nigeria. Once you are schooling in Nigeria, the fathers will open up and they will wake up to responsibility. They will not allow strike to go on in Nigeria.
That's a fundamental issue. Very much. It will raise a lot of questions about the law.
End the program tonight, we've been looking at the lingering ASUU strike, and I've been talking to Dr. Emmanuel Aina. He's a former Director, FCT Education Secretariat and Education Consultant. And also I have been talking to Jeremiah Friday, he's a student of Benue University. Thanks a lot for being part of the show, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
And we hope that solutions will be found very soon. And that's Nigeria Today for tonight. Join us again tomorrow.